Wrong woman, but I'm keeping you anyway.
said the Mafia boss. After kidnapping her by mistake, Angela Chen was having the worst Monday of her life, and it was only 2 p.m. Her laptop had died mid-presentation that morning. Her client had rejected the website redesign she'd spent 3 weeks perfecting, and now she was sitting in a cramped Seoul coffee shop trying to salvage her day with overpriced Americano and spotty Wi-Fi. She didn't notice the two men in black suits watching her from across the street. She didn't notice when they crossed the road, moving with practiced precision. She didn't notice anything was wrong until a hand clamped over her mouth and someone whispered in Korean-accented English, "Minseo, come quietly, don't make this difficult." Before Angela could scream, before she could fight, before she could do anything except panic, they had her out of her chair and moving toward the door. The few other customers glanced up, saw what looked like a business meeting gone awkward, and looked away. Seoul was a city that minded its own business. As we proceed, please subscribe to Elizabeth Love Tales, and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. Now, let's continue outside. A black Mercedes waited. Engine running. Windows tinted so dark they looked like mirrors. "I'm not," Angela started, but the hand tightened over her mouth. "Quiet," the man hissed. "You've caused enough trouble already, Miss Kang." Miss Kang? Angela's mind raced. They thought she was someone named Kang Min Seo. This was a mistake. A horrible, terrifying mistake. But the gun pressing against her ribs suggested now wasn't the time to argue. They pushed her into the back seat. One man on each side of her. The car pulled into Seoul traffic immediately, blending in with thousands of other black luxury sedans navigating the Gangnam streets. "Please," Angela tried again, her voice shaking. "I think there's been a mistake. My name is Angela Chen, not whoever you think I am. I'm American. I'm just here for work. I'm a web developer. I don't know anyone named Kang." The men exchanged glances. "She's playing dumb," the one on her left said in Korean. He didn't know Angela had studied the language for 2 years in college, understood more than she spoke. "Boss will sort it out," the other replied, also in Korean. "We just bring her, that's the job." Angela's blood ran cold. Boss. They were taking her to someone who wanted this Kang Min Seo person badly enough to kidnap her off the street in broad daylight. "Where are you taking me?" she asked in English, keeping her Korean comprehension secret. Information was power. She'd need every advantage she could get. "Quiet," the man on her right said. "You'll find out soon enough." The drive took 30 minutes. Angela tried to track the route, memorize landmarks, anything that might help her later. But after 10 minutes of turns and highways and underground parking garages, she was completely lost. They ended up in what looked like a luxury apartment building. Not residential, commercial. The kind of place that housed corporate offices and exclusive clubs. The elevator required a keycard. The hallway was empty, silent, expensive. The apartment they brought her to was on the 40th floor. When the door opened, Angela's first thought was, "This is where I'm going to die." Her second thought was, "At least it's a nice view." Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's skyline, Han River snaking through the city like a silver ribbon. Mountains in the distance, hazy with afternoon pollution. The apartment itself was minimalist, modern, expensive in a way that screamed old money, not new. And standing by the windows, looking out at the city like he owned it, was the most dangerous-looking man Angela had ever seen. Tall, easily 6 feet, broad shoulders in a perfectly tailored black suit. Dark hair styled with careful precision. When he turned, Angela's breath caught. He was young, maybe early 30s, handsome in a sharp, angular way that looked like it had been carved from marble. High cheekbones, strong jaw, eyes so dark they were almost black. The kind of face that belonged in Korean dramas, except there was nothing soft about him. Everything about him radiated controlled danger. This was a man used to being obeyed. "Kang Min Seo," he said. His voice was deep, smooth, perfect Korean with an edge that suggested English fluency. "Sit down." "I'm not," Angela started. "Sit. Down." It wasn't a request. Angela sat on the leather couch, her hands shaking. She gripped her bag to hide it. The man moved closer, studying her face with an intensity that made her want to look away. She forced herself to meet his eyes. Showing fear would only make this worse. "You stole from me," he said quietly. "You and your brother. 300 million won from my organization's accounts. Did you really think I wouldn't find you?" "I didn't steal anything," Angela said, voice steadier than she felt. "I'm not Kang Min Seo. My name is Angela Chen. I'm an American web developer here on a work contract. I don't have a brother. I don't know anything about stolen money. You have the wrong person." Something flickered in his expression. Doubt, maybe, or annoyance. "Your name is Kang Min Seo," he said. "Age 26, born in Busan, moved to Seoul 3 years ago, works as a financial analyst. Brother is Kang Dong-jun, also 26, twins. You both worked for one of my subsidiary companies until you disappeared 2 weeks ago with 300 million won." "That's not me," Angela insisted. "I'm 27. I was born in San Francisco. I've only been in Seoul for 4 months on a 6-month contract with a tech startup in Gangnam. I can prove it. My passport is in my bag. My visa, my work permit, everything." The man's eyes narrowed. "Give me your bag." One of his men took it from her, handed it to him. He opened it, methodical and thorough. Pulled out her passport first. Angela Chen, American passport. Birth date, April 15th, 1998. Born, San Francisco, California. He stared at it, looked at the photo, looked at Angela, back to the photo. Then he pulled out her phone, unlocked it with a quick glance at her. Angela had Face ID enabled, and started scrolling. Work emails, client messages, text threads with her roommate back in San Francisco, photos of her at San Francisco landmarks, at college graduation, at family gatherings with people who were clearly Chinese American. The man's jaw tightened. He said something sharp in Korean to his men. They responded quickly, defensively. Angela caught enough to understand. Same description, same location, same age. How were we supposed to know? "Show me your ID photo of Kang Min Seo," the man said coldly. One of the men pulled out a phone, showed him a photo. The man stared at it, his expression darkening, then turned the phone so Angela could see. Angela's stomach dropped. The woman in the photo looked exactly like her. Same facial structure, same hair length and color, same build. Not just similar, nearly identical. If Angela hadn't known better, she would have thought it was a photo of herself. "Oh my God," she whispered. "We're doppelgangers." "Impossible," the man said, but he sounded uncertain now. "It's not impossible. It's rare, but it happens. Statistical probability says everyone has at least a few people in the world who look exactly like them. I just happen to look like your thief, and I happen to be in the same city, in the same neighborhood, at the same time." Angela's voice was gaining strength. "This is a mistake, a horrible, terrifying mistake, but it is a mistake." The man studied her for a long moment. Then he turned to his men and spoke in rapid Korean. "You grabbed her from the coffee shop? The one Min Seo was known to frequent?" "Yes, boss. Same location. Same description. She was alone, working on a laptop. It matched perfectly." "Did you verify her face? Confirm her identity?" Uncomfortable silence. "Did. You. Verify?" "We assumed, boss. The description matched exactly. We thought." "You thought." His voice was deadly quiet. "You didn't think. You assumed. And now we have an American citizen who works in tech, who has nothing to do with our organization, who you kidnapped off the street in broad daylight." The men looked at each other nervously. The man turned back to Angela. "What's your name again?" "Angela Chen." "Angela Chen." He said it slowly, like testing the words. "You work as a web developer?" "Yes, for a startup called Innovate Tech. We build e-commerce platforms for small businesses. I'm on a contract through June. I live in a tiny apartment in Mapogu, with 2 roommates I found on an expat Facebook group. I came to Seoul because the pay was good, and I wanted to experience living abroad. I have absolutely no connection to any criminal organizations, stolen money, or anyone named Kang." "Prove it." "How?" "You have my passport, my phone. My laptop is back at the coffee shop. Your men dragged me out before I could pack up. What else do you need?" He made a call. Spoke in quick Korean. Check the coffee shop. Blue laptop. White case. Bring it here. Then to Angela. We'll verify your story. And then what? Angela asked. You let me go? I just walk out of here and pretend this never happened? That depends. On what? On whether you're telling the truth. Angela's hands clenched into fists. I am telling the truth. I'm a completely innocent person who was grabbed off the street because I happen to look like your criminal. This isn't my fault. No, he agreed. But it's my problem. They stared at each other. The apartment was silent except for the soft hum of air conditioning. What's your name? Angela asked finally. Does it matter? You know mine. Seems only fair. Something almost like amusement crossed his face. Park Jin-woo. Park Jin-woo, Angela repeated. And you're… what? Mafia. Crime boss. Gangster. I prefer businessman. Businessmen don't usually kidnap people. You'd be surprised. Despite everything, the fear, the situation, the very real danger she was in, Angela almost laughed. It came out as a slightly hysterical sound. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. I came to Seoul to build my portfolio and save money. I've been here 4 months. The most exciting thing that's happened to me was finding a coffee shop that doesn't charge extra for oat milk. And now I'm being held prisoner by a businessman who thinks I stole 300 million won. You're very calm for someone who was just kidnapped, Park Jin-woo observed. I'm internally screaming. But externally, panic seems counterproductive when you have guns and I have a nearly dead phone battery. He did smile then. Brief, but real. Smart. Survival instinct. One of his men returned with Angela's laptop. Park Jin-woo opened it, scrolled through files, website mock-ups, client contracts, design portfolios, code repositories. Everything was exactly what she'd said, the work of a freelance web developer. He closed the laptop, looked at her. Wrong woman, he said finally. Relief flooded through Angela. So I can go? No. The relief evaporated. What? But you just said, you're the wrong woman, but I'm keeping you anyway. Angela stared at him. Excuse me. Park Jin-woo sat in the chair across from her, expression unreadable. You've seen my face. You know my men's faces. You know we kidnapped you, which means you know we're willing to commit crimes in broad daylight. You know we're looking for Kang Min-seo and her brother. That's too much information to let walk out the door. I won't tell anyone. I'll keep my mouth shut. I'll pretend this never happened. You say that now, but when you're safe, when you're back in your apartment with your roommates, when you realize what actually happened, you'll talk. To friends, to your family back in America, maybe to the police, and that becomes a liability. So what are you suggesting? You just keep me here? Forever? Until we find Kang Min-seo and her brother. Until we recover our money and handle the situation. Then we'll discuss what happens to you. That could take weeks. Months. Possibly. This is kidnapping. False imprisonment. You can't just… I can, he interrupted. And I am. You're unfortunate, Angela Chen. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you look exactly like someone I need to find. That's not your fault. But it's also not my problem. Angela's mind raced. Okay, let's think about this logically. You're worried I'll tell people, I get it. But keeping me prisoner creates more problems than it solves. What about my work? I have deadlines, clients, meetings. When I don't show up, people will notice. My roommates will notice. My company will notice. The American embassy will get involved eventually. So tell them you're sick, taking time off. Family emergency. For how long? However long it takes. Angela wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to do anything except sit here calmly negotiating her own imprisonment. But panic wouldn't help. Strategy might. If I'm going to be here, she said carefully, I have conditions. Park Jin-woo's eyebrow rose. You're negotiating? I'm managing expectations. You don't want me miserable and difficult. I don't want to be miserable and difficult. So let's establish parameters that make this bearable for both of us. He leaned back, studying her with something that might have been respect. I'm listening. 1. I need reliable internet. My work requires it. I have clients depending on me, and if I suddenly go silent without delivering projects, they'll get suspicious. I need to be able to work remotely. Agreed. 2. I need to be able to contact my roommates, my company, my family. I won't tell them where I am or what's happening, but I need to maintain my normal communication patterns. You can have your phone, monitored, but functional. 3. I need decent food. And coffee. Good coffee. Not instant. I have standards. Something flickered in his expression. Almost amusement. Anything else? Access to exercise equipment, books, entertainment. If I'm going to be stuck here indefinitely, I need mental stimulation beyond work. This isn't a hotel. It's also not a prison. You said I'm unfortunate, not guilty. Treat me like it. Park Jin-woo stood, walked to the window, looked out at Seoul for a long moment. Then he turned back to her. Here's what's going to happen. You'll stay in this apartment. It's secure, monitored, and my men will be outside at all times. You'll have your own bedroom, bathroom, access to the kitchen. You can work, you can communicate with people, carefully, but you cannot leave. And you cannot tell anyone where you are or who you're with. Understand? Crystal clear. If you try to escape, if you try to signal for help, if you do anything that compromises my operation, we'll have problems. And I don't like problems. What kind of problems? His eyes met hers. The permanent kind. Angela's blood went cold. You'd kill me? I'd prefer not to. Violence is inefficient. But I will protect my interests. They stared at each other. Angela realized with absolute clarity that he meant it. Park Jin-woo would kill her if she became too much of a liability. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a drama. This was real. And she was in serious danger. I understand, she said quietly. Good. He moved toward the door. Your bedroom is the second door on the left. Bathroom is attached. There's clothes in the closet. They should fit since you're Minsio's size, apparently. Someone will bring dinner in 2 hours. If you need anything, tell the guard outside. He'll contact me. Wait. You're leaving? I have work to do. An organization to run, money to recover. So I'm just alone here? You wanted privacy, internet, and good coffee. I'm providing all 3. What else do you want? I don't know. A less insane situation? He almost smiled again. We don't always get what we want, Angela Chen. Then he was gone. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Angela heard the lock engage. She sat on the expensive leather couch in the expensive apartment where she was being held prisoner and tried to process what had just happened. Kidnapped by mistake, held by the Korean Mafia, stuck here indefinitely until they found some thief who happened to look exactly like her. This was her life now. Angela pulled out her phone, 20% battery left, and stared at it. She could call someone, the police, the embassy, her roommates. But Park Jin-woo's threat echoed in her mind, the permanent kind. She believed him, which meant she was stuck here, at least for now. Okay, Angela whispered to herself. Okay, think. Strategy, survival. She stood, explored her prison. The apartment was beautiful. Couldn't deny that. Modern, clean, minimalist Korean aesthetic. The kitchen was fully stocked with high-end appliances. The living room had a massive TV and a sound system that probably cost more than her yearly rent. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with both Korean and English titles. Her bedroom was down the hall. King bed with white linens, attached bathroom with a rainfall shower and a soaking tub. The closet did have clothes, women's clothes in exactly her size, jeans, sweaters, dresses, workout clothes, all expensive brands, all with tags still on. They'd been planning to bring Kang Min-seo here. This was a prepared safe house. Angela was just the accidental guest. She showered. The water pressure was incredible, and changed into borrowed sweatpants and a t-shirt. Sat on the bed and tried to think. She couldn't escape. Not yet. She didn't know where she was, didn't know the building layout, didn't know how many guards there were. Trying to run now would get her caught. Or killed. So she'd stay. For now. She'd play along, be cooperative, and wait for an opportunity. And maybe, just maybe, she'd figure out Park Jin-woo. Figure out what kind of man kidnapped someone by mistake and kept them anyway. Figure out if there was any way to convince him to let her go before this situation got worse. Angela lay back on the expensive bed in her expensive prison and stared at the ceiling. "Welcome to Seoul," she muttered, living the dream. The next morning, Angela woke to sunlight streaming through windows she'd forgotten to close the curtains on. For a disoriented moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then reality crashed back. Kidnapped. Mafia. Wrong woman. Prisoner. She groaned, pulled a pillow over her face, and seriously considered just staying in bed forever. A knock on the door interrupted her pity party. "Yes," she called out. The door opened. One of the men from yesterday, the one who'd grabbed her from the coffee shop, stood there with a paper bag and a coffee carrier. "Breakfast," he said in English. Heavy Korean accent, but understandable. "Boss sent it." Angela sat up. "The boss sent me breakfast?" "Every morning. His instruction." The man set the bag and coffee on the dresser. "Eat. Stay healthy," he says. Then he left before Angela could respond. She opened the bag. Fresh pastries from what looked like an expensive bakery. Croissants, pain au chocolat, some kind of filled bun she didn't recognize. The coffee was from a specialty roaster, iced Americano, made exactly how she liked it. Which was weird because how would they know? Unless they'd been watching her. Studying her routine when they thought she was Kang Min-seo. That thought was deeply unsettling. But the coffee was perfect, and the pastries were delicious, and Angela had learned a long time ago not to waste good food. She ate breakfast, then set up her laptop at the small desk in her room, checked her emails, 12 new messages. Half were from clients, half were from her roommates asking where she was. Angela crafted careful responses. To her roommates. "Hey, sorry for disappearing yesterday. Got offered a last-minute freelance project. Really good pay, but super demanding schedule. Going to be basically living on site for a few weeks. Will check in when I can." To her clients. Still on track for deadlines. Working remotely on a secure project this week. Might be slower to respond, but all deliverables will be on time. She hit send and prayed they'd believe her. Her door opened again without knocking. Angela looked up, ready to be annoyed. Park Jin-woo stood in the doorway, wearing different clothes than yesterday but the same dangerous elegance. Dark slacks, white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that were unfairly attractive. Hair still perfectly styled, expression unreadable. "Good morning," he said. Angela blinked. "You just walked into my room." "It's my apartment." "I could have been changing." "Then you should lock the door." "I'm a prisoner. I didn't think I had door-locking privileges." Something almost like amusement crossed his face. "Fair point. Next time I'll knock." "How generous of you." He moved into the room, glanced at her laptop. "Working already?" "I have deadlines. Turns out being kidnapped doesn't excuse late deliverables." "Did your roommates believe your excuse?" "Don't know yet. They're probably still asleep. Time difference and all." Park Jin-woo sat in the chair by the window. Uninvited, but then again his apartment, and studied her. "You're very calm. You said that yesterday. I told you. Internally screaming, externally strategic. Most people in your situation would be crying, begging, trying to escape. Would any of that help?" "No." "Then why waste the energy?" Angela closed her laptop. "Besides, I cried last night after you left. Had a full breakdown in the shower. Very dramatic. But I got it out of my system, and now I'm being practical." He looked genuinely surprised. "You cried?" "Of course I cried. I was kidnapped by the Mafia. I'm being held prisoner in a strange country with no idea when I'll be free. That's terrifying. But panic doesn't help. So I'm choosing strategy instead." "Strategy," he repeated. "Survival strategy. Be cooperative. Don't make problems. Wait for an opportunity." Angela paused. "Unless you'd prefer I be difficult?" "I can do difficult. I'm very good at difficult when I want to be." "No," he said quickly. "Cooperative is better." "That's what I thought." They sat in odd silence for a moment. Angela became acutely aware that she was in borrowed sweatpants with no bra and messy hair, while Park Jin-woo looked like he'd stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. Not that it mattered. He was her kidnapper. She shouldn't care what she looked like, but apparently her vanity didn't care about logical priorities. "Why are you here?" she asked finally. "Shouldn't you be out looking for Kang Min-seo?" "I have people doing that. I'm managing the operation." "From here?" "Among other places. I have multiple properties in Seoul." He leaned back in the chair. "I came to check on you." "Why?" "Because you're my responsibility now. I need to make sure you're comfortable." Angela laughed. Couldn't help it. "Comfortable? I'm a prisoner." "A comfortable prisoner is less likely to cause problems. So this is just practical management?" "Yes." "Nothing to do with guilt?" His eyes narrowed. "I don't do guilt." "Everyone does guilt. You kidnapped an innocent person. Surely some part of you feels bad about that." "I feel inconvenienced," he said carefully. "My men made a mistake. You're suffering for it. That's unfortunate. But I don't have the luxury of guilt. Guilt is weakness, and weakness gets you killed in my world." Angela studied him. "That's sad." "Excuse me. Living without guilt, without feeling bad when you hurt people, that's a sad way to exist." "It's a realistic way to exist." "Same thing." Park Jin-woo stood abruptly. "I should go. I have meetings." "Wait." Angela stopped herself. She didn't know what she wanted to say. "Don't go? Stay? Talk to me so I don't feel so alone?" All terrible ideas. "Yes?" he prompted. "Nothing. Never mind." He studied her for a long moment, then nodded and left. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Angela sat at her desk and tried to understand what had just happened. Park Jin-woo had brought her breakfast, had checked on her, had sat in her room and had an almost normal conversation like they were acquaintances, not captor and captive. It was confusing, unsettling, and definitely something she shouldn't think too hard about. Angela opened her laptop and threw herself into work. Code was logical, predictable. It made sense in a way her current situation absolutely didn't. Days developed a pattern. Every morning, one of Park Jin-woo's men, she learned his name was Tai Yang, brought breakfast, coffee and pastries, always from expensive places, always exactly what she'd like. Angela would work through the morning. Client calls, code reviews, design mock-ups. She maintained her professional life as if everything was normal. Around noon, lunch appeared. Sometimes Korean food, sometimes Western, always high quality. She ate alone in the apartment, watching Seoul traffic from the 40th floor windows. Afternoons were more work, interspersed with exercise. The apartment had a small home gym. Treadmill, weights, yoga mat. Angela used it religiously, partly for physical health, mostly for mental sanity. Evenings were the lonely part. No roommates to chat with, no friends to meet for dinner, just her and the expensive apartment and the knowledge that she was being held against her will. She texted her roommates daily, maintained the fiction of an intense freelance project. They believed her. Why wouldn't they? Angela had always been a workaholic. She called her mom twice a week, lied through her teeth about how great Seoul was, how much she loved her job, how everything was fine. "You sound stressed, honey," her mom said on one call. "Just busy, Mom. This contract is demanding." "You're not getting into any trouble?" Angela almost laughed. Define trouble. "No, Mom. I'm being very careful." "Good. Seoul is a big city. You need to be smart." "I'm always smart." "You're also too trusting sometimes. Promise me you'll be careful." "I promise." Another lie to add to the growing collection. The strange part, the part Angela didn't want to think about, was that Park Jin-woo visited almost every day. Not for long. Just 20 or 30 minutes. He'd appear in the afternoon or evening, sometimes with coffee, sometimes empty-handed. They'd talk. About nothing important. About her work, his day, current events, random topics. He never mentioned the kidnapping, never acknowledged the fundamental wrongness of the situation. Just talked to her like she was a person, not a prisoner. It was deeply weird, and Angela, despite herself, started looking forward to his visits. On day 5, he appeared during dinner time carrying takeout bags that smelled incredible. "I brought food," he announced, setting everything on the kitchen island. Angela looked up from her laptop. "I can see that. Korean barbecue. I thought you might be tired of whatever Taeyang's been ordering. Taeyang has excellent taste. I've been eating very well. But you haven't had proper Korean barbecue. He started unpacking containers. Marinated beef, pork belly, kimchi, rice, banchan. Come eat. Is this an order? It's an invitation. Angela closed her laptop, moved to the kitchen island, sat across from him. You don't have to feed me personally. Your men can handle it. I know, but I wanted to. Why? He paused, chopsticks halfway to his mouth. Does there need to be a reason? Most people don't share meals with their prisoners. You keep calling yourself a prisoner. Because that's what I am. You're a temporary guest. Temporary guests can leave. Eventually, you can. When? Angela challenged. Give me a timeline. When does this end? Park Jin-woo set down his chopsticks. When we find Kang Min-seo. When we recover the money. When the situation is resolved. That could be weeks. Months. Years. It won't be years. But you don't know, do you? You have no idea how long this will take. Which means I'm stuck here indefinitely, missing my real life, lying to everyone I know, pretending everything is fine when it's absolutely not. Silence. Then, you're right. Angela blinked. What? You're right. I don't know how long this will take. And that's unfair to you. You're paying for my men's mistake. For my security concerns. For a situation you had nothing to do with. He met her eyes. I'm sorry. You're apologizing? I don't do guilt. But I can acknowledge when something is wrong. He picked up his chopsticks again. This whole situation is wrong. You shouldn't be here. But you are. And I can't change that without putting myself and my organization at risk. So I'm trying to make it bearable. With food. Food helps everything. Angela almost smiled. Is that an Italian thing? Korean thing. We're Korean. Food is love, comfort, apology, celebration, everything. So this is your way of apologizing without actually apologizing. This is me feeding you quality Korean barbecue because you're stuck in my apartment and you deserve something good. They ate in surprisingly comfortable silence. The food was incredible. Perfectly marinated, tender, flavorful. Angela made small sounds of appreciation without meaning to. Park Jin-woo smiled. Good? Unfairly delicious. Are you trying to Stockholm Syndrome me through food? He laughed. Real, genuine laugh that transformed his face. Would it work? Possibly. I'm very food motivated. I'll remember that. They finished eating. Park Jin-woo cleared the containers without being asked, moved around the kitchen with familiar ease. Do you cook? Angela asked. Sometimes. My mother taught me. She said a man who can't feed himself is pathetic. Smart woman. Terrifying woman. But yes, smart. Do you have siblings? One younger sister. She's in graduate school in the States. Studying law. Does she know what you do? She knows I run a business. She doesn't ask for details. Plausible deniability. Something like that. He leaned against the counter. What about you? Siblings? One older brother. He's a software engineer in Silicon Valley. We're not super close. He's very focused on his career, and I'm more creative. You're both in tech, though. Different kinds. He does back-end architecture for major corporations. I make websites pretty and functional for small businesses. He thinks I'm wasting my potential. I think he's sold his soul to corporate America. We argue about it at Thanksgiving. Park Jin-woo smiled. Sounds familiar. My sister thinks I'm wasting my life on criminal enterprises. I think she's naive about how the world actually works. Are you? Wasting your life? He considered this seriously. I don't know. This is the life I was born into. My father ran this organization before me, his father before him. It's legacy, tradition, obligation. But sometimes I wonder what I'd be doing if I'd had a choice. What would you choose? Something quiet, something normal. Maybe I'd run a restaurant or a bookstore. Something that doesn't involve guns and violence and constant paranoia. Angela studied him. In that moment, he looked younger, more human. Less like a dangerous crime boss and more like a man who was tired of the life he'd been handed. You could still do that, she said quietly. Choose differently. No, he said. I couldn't. Too many people depend on me. Too many obligations. Once you're in this world, you don't get out. Your sister got out. My sister was never in. She was protected, kept separate from the business. That was intentional. You protected her. Someone had to. They looked at each other across the kitchen. The apartment felt smaller suddenly. More intimate. Angela's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. Client email. Urgent revision request. I should get back to work, she said. Right, yes. Park Jin-woo moved toward the door. I'll see you tomorrow. You don't have to visit every day. I know. So why do you? He paused in the doorway. Because you're interesting, Angela Chen, and I don't meet interesting people in my line of work. Then he was gone. Angela sat at the kitchen island, surrounded by empty takeout containers and the lingering smell of Korean barbecue, and tried to understand what was happening. She was developing feelings for her kidnapper. Actual, genuine feelings. She looked forward to his visits, enjoyed their conversations, found him attractive despite, or maybe because of, the danger he represented. This was textbook Stockholm Syndrome. Except it didn't feel like that. It felt like she was seeing who Park Jin-woo actually was beneath the crime boss exterior. And that person was complicated, intelligent, surprisingly kind in unexpected ways. This is a disaster, Angela muttered to herself. But she was smiling when she said it. On day 8, everything changed. Park Jin-woo arrived in the evening looking tense. No food, no coffee, just tension radiating off him like heat. We found her, he said without preamble. Angela's stomach dropped. Kang Min-seo? In Busan. My men are tracking her now. We'll have her within 24 hours. That's good. That's what you wanted. Yes. They stared at each other. So I can leave? Angela said finally. Once you have her, once the situation is resolved, I can go. Yes. Then why do you look like that? Like what? Angry. Tense. Like this is bad news instead of good news. Park Jin-woo moved to the window, looked out at Seoul's nighttime skyline. Because once we have Min-seo, once we handle the situation, you become a loose end. Cold dread settled in Angela's chest. What does that mean? It means my organization will want to eliminate risks. And you're a risk. You've seen too much, know too much. Even if you promise to stay quiet, even if I believe you, others won't. So you're going to kill me. Her voice was surprisingly steady. No. He turned to face her. I'm not. But I'll have to convince others that you're not a threat. And that might be difficult. How difficult? I don't know yet. Angela sat on the couch, her legs suddenly unsteady. I was really hoping I'd survive this. You will survive this. He moved closer, sat beside her. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel his presence. I won't let anything happen to you. You can't promise that. You said yourself, others will want me gone. I don't care what others want. You're under my protection. Why? Angela turned to look at him. Why protect me? I'm just some random woman who happened to look like your thief. Why do you care? Park Jin-woo met her eyes. Because you're not random. Because these past 8 days, talking to you, getting to know you, have been the most normal human interactions I've had in years. Because you make me laugh. Because you threatened me with being difficult and argued about food and treated me like a person instead of a monster. You're not a monster. I've done monstrous things. I know. But you're also the man who brings me coffee every morning and checks on me to make sure I'm comfortable and apologizes with Korean barbecue. That's not monstrous. That's just human. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was unexpectedly gentle. What are you doing to me, Angela Chen? I don't know. What are you doing to me? They were too close. Angela could see the flecks of brown in his dark eyes, could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle, could feel the heat of his body. This is a terrible idea, she whispered. Agreed. You're a criminal. I'm your prisoner. Temporary guest. Same thing. Not quite. He kissed her. Soft at first, testing, like he was giving her a chance to pull away. Angela didn't pull away. She leaned in, hands fisting in his shirt, kissing him back with 8 days of tension and fear and unexpected attraction. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Park Jin-woo rested his forehead against hers. "This is complicated," he said. "Extremely. I'm still not letting you go until the situation is resolved. I know. But I don't want you to go." Angela's heart did something complicated in her chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying..." He pulled back, met her eyes. "I'm saying I've never met anyone like you. I'm saying these 8 days have been the most interesting 8 days I've had in years. I'm saying I don't want this to end when we find Minseo. What do you want?" "You. Here. By choice. Not force. I want you to stay because you want to, not because you have to." "That's insane. Completely insane. I'm supposed to just what? Move in with the man who kidnapped me? Build a life with a crime boss? Pretend this whole situation is normal? Nothing about this is normal. But it could be something, if you wanted it to be." Angela stood, paced to the window. Seoul glittered below. Millions of people living normal lives, oblivious to the complicated situation happening in this 40th floor apartment. "I should want to run," she said. "I should want to get as far away from you as possible. But you don't." "No, I don't." She turned to face him. "And I don't know if that's because of actual feelings or because you've kept me isolated for 8 days and my brain is confusing kindness with affection. Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe, probably." Park Jin-woo stood, moved to stand beside her at the window. "What if it's not? What if this is real? How would we even know? We wouldn't. Not unless you stayed. Not unless we gave this a real chance outside of this situation." Angela laughed, slightly hysterical. "You're asking me to date you. I'm asking you to give us a chance. After you kidnapped me. After I mistakenly kidnapped you and then tried very hard to make it comfortable. That's not a great foundation for a relationship." "No," he agreed. "But it's what we have." They stood side by side, looking out at Seoul, both processing what had just happened. Finally, Angela said, "Ask me again. After you find Minseo. After the situation is resolved. After I'm free to leave and have had time to think clearly. Ask me then. And if I do, I don't know. Maybe I'll say yes. Maybe I'll say no. Maybe I'll have you arrested for kidnapping." He smiled. "Fair enough. But Jin-woo? Yes. I hope I say yes, which is probably insane, but I hope I do." He took her hand, squeezed gently. "Me too." The next day was chaos. Park Jin-woo's team moved on Kang Min-seo in Busan. Angela listened to him coordinating on the phone. Rapid Korean she couldn't follow completely, but the tension was clear. "Is everything okay?" she asked when he finished a call. "Minseo's not coming quietly. She has protection. Someone's helping her." "Is that bad?" "It's complicated." By evening, the situation escalated. Park Jin-woo was in and out of the apartment, tense, focused, barely speaking to Angela beyond brief updates. She tried to work but couldn't focus, made dinner but couldn't eat, just paced the apartment, waiting for news. At 11 p.m., Park Jin-woo returned. He looked exhausted. "We have her," he said. "And her brother. The money's been recovered, it's over." Relief flooded through Angela. "So I can leave?" "Yes." He sat heavily on the couch. "You're free to go, whenever you want." Angela sat beside him. "You don't sound happy." "I am. The situation is resolved. You're safe." But now you leave, and I lose the most interesting person I've met in years." "You could not lose me." He looked at her. "What?" "You said you'd ask me again. After the situation was resolved, after I was free." Angela took a breath. "So ask." "Angela, ask me, Jin-woo." He turned to face her fully, took both her hands. "Stay. Not as a prisoner, not as a temporary guest. Stay as whatever you want to be. My partner, my girlfriend. Someone I can have breakfast with every morning and dinner with every evening. Someone who argues with me about food and calls me out when I'm being ridiculous. Stay because you want to, not because you have to." Angela's heart was racing. "This is insane. Completely insane. I've known you 9 days. I know. You kidnapped me by mistake. I did. I should run. I should go back to my apartment, my roommates, my normal life. You should. But I don't want to. She squeezed his hands. I want to stay. I want more conversations and more meals and more time getting to know you outside of this weird situation. I want to see who we are when I'm not your prisoner and you're not my captor. Are you sure? Because once you choose this, once you choose me, there's no going back. My world is dangerous, complicated. You'd be connected to it. I know. And it terrifies me. But you terrify me in a good way. In a way that makes me want to be brave. Park Jin-woo kissed her. Deeper this time, more certain. Angela kissed back, hands in his hair, years of playing it safe forgotten in favor of this insane, dangerous, exciting choice. When they broke apart, he said, "The door was never locked. After day 2, I unlocked it. You could have left any time." Angela stared at him. What? I wanted to see if you'd stay. Without the lock. Without the force. Just stay. You? That's so manipulative. I know. I should be furious. You should be. But I'm not. Because I did stay. Even without knowing. I chose this. She shook her head, laughing. We're both insane. Completely. Good. Let's be insane together. Epilogue. 3 months later, Angela moved into Park Jin-woo's penthouse, his real home, not the safe house. It was beautiful, modern, with a view of Namsan Tower and shelves full of books in both Korean and English. She kept her freelance business, worked from his home office, maintained her independence, but she also learned about his world, the organization, the territories, the complicated politics of Seoul's underworld. It was dangerous, sometimes scary, always interesting, and she loved him. Completely, impossibly, despite all the logical reasons she shouldn't. One night, over dinner that Jin-woo had cooked because he really was an excellent cook, Angela said, "We need a better story for how we met." Why? The truth is entertaining? The truth is, you kidnapped me by mistake. That's not romantic. That's criminal. It's both. Not helping. Angela stabbed her noodles. We need something normal. Something we can tell people. What do you suggest? We met at a coffee shop. You noticed me working. I noticed you watching. We started talking. Instant connection. Boring. Safe? Fine, we'll tell people that. He reached across the table, took her hand. But for the record, I prefer the real story. You kidnapped me by mistake. I found you by accident. Then I kept you on purpose. Angela smiled despite herself. That's still criminal. But true. And it was. Park Jin-woo had kidnapped the wrong woman. But somehow, impossibly, she'd turned out to be exactly right. I love you, Angela said. I love you too, wrong woman. Wrong woman, right man. Perfectly imperfect. They finished dinner, cleaned up together, settled on the couch with wine and a K-drama Angela had gotten Jin-woo addicted to. This was her life now. Dating a reformed crime boss who'd kidnapped her by mistake. Living in Seoul, building a life that was equal parts dangerous and domestic. It was insane. It was perfect. And Angela wouldn't change a single thing.